How's it going, film nerds? My name is Ryan Walsh, and I've been a fan of The Walking Dead for a long time. And even for a fan like myself, I have to admit that the show is probably going to be coming to an end very soon. And there are really two reasons I'm bringing this up. The first reason being, the show has really had a ton of filler episodes, and at this point, it's season 9, it's been getting extremely boring. And the second reason being, most of the characters that I fell in love with at the beginning of the show, like Carl and Rick, have died off, and even someone like Michonne is leaving the show. So what exactly am I going to be sticking around for? I mean, Rick was the sole character that this entire series from the comic books and the TV show was built on. He's the one character that we've been following since the very beginning. And for many fans, this was the only character keeping them coming back for each season. And now that he's gone, a lot of fans have just up and abandoned the show. And you know, I can't really blame them for that. Just looking at the ratings, as you can see right here, it just gets worse and worse for The Walking Dead. I mean, season 9's mid-season finale had its lowest viewership in the entire show's history. Even though this season is introducing one of the biggest villains in the entire comic book run, the Whisperers, that's probably just not enough for the fans to really stick around and watch this series. It just doesn't seem like AMC is going to be able to save this show. Which means, ultimately, the show will reach its conclusion. And I know that there's going to be a season 10, but I can't help to think that the viewership, if it keeps going down, we're not going to be seeing anything past season 10. And that just means that the show is going to end up getting canceled. But exactly how are they going to leave this show off? How is The Walking Dead going to end? Personally, as a fan of the show that's devoted hundreds of hours of watching each and every single episode more than one time, I demand to know how this entire series is going to end. And you probably are one of those people that agrees with me. I mean, will all the characters turn into walkers? Could humans find a cure? Or maybe the characters will find a way to build up the human race and take out all of the remaining walkers in the world. A lot of this is definitely possible, but you didn't come here for possible. You came here because you want to know exactly how The Walking Dead will end, and so do I, and that's what we're gonna do in this video. We're gonna figure it out today. Now, I think the first place we need to go to look for the ending of The Walking Dead is the original source material, which is the comic books. I mean, the show has done a pretty good job of adapting a lot of the comic book storylines to screen. So why wouldn't they just do the same thing for the ending? But you know, the funny thing is that there is no ending just yet within the comic books of The Walking Dead. It's still going on. And as of this recording, the series is already up to issue 188. And something that's even funnier about the comic books is that Carl and Rick are still alive in the comics. They're still the main characters. So obviously the show and the comic books have just gone in two different directions. Now, the creator and writer of The Walking Dead, Robert Kirkman, did say that there is an end in sight for the series back in 2017 according to Forbes, but because of how successful the sales have been with the comic books, it doesn't seem like there's a clear end in sight just yet. That's probably going to be years down the road. So obviously we can't really rely on the comic books to really see the ending of The Walking Dead within the show. We have to go and look at the show itself. But looking back at the show, it's not like there's a character working on a cure to cure all the zombies in the world. That just isn't happening. Back in season 1, Dr. Edwin Jenner is the only character we knew of that was working on a cure, but that just ended up being a bust because he said he couldn't figure out exactly how to cure this disease, and he ended up dying. And after that, the only other character that we knew of that even mentioned a cure was Eugene, and obviously he was lying about that. But now that the comic books don't even have an end in sight, and we know nobody is working on a cure, how the heck are we going to figure out this ending? Is it even possible to figure out the ending of The Walking Dead show? Well, here on Film Nerd, there is absolutely no theory that is too hard to solve. And with a little bit of brain power and research, we definitely can figure it out. But honestly, I think we've been thinking about this all wrong the entire time. Instead of just going and trying to find out the ending of the series, we first have to figure out, is it even possible for the remaining characters to even survive the zombie apocalypse? And we could do this just by simply looking at geography, because the main threat in the entire Walking Dead franchise is just zombies. So if we can figure out places in the world that aren't going to have any zombies, or at the very least just very few zombies that they can take out, then that's how they're going to survive. Looking back at seasons 1 through 4, we can see that the journey started off in Atlanta, Georgia, which is obviously one of the worst possible places the characters could have started off because it's a city. And as we can just see from the first episode, there are masses and hordes of zombies within these cities because there's so many people. The characters need to go to a more rural area because that is where they've proven that they can survive the longest. But skip all the way to the current season, and exactly where do you see them at the beginning of this season? Washington, D.C. Now, I know that Washington, D.C. at this point isn't going to have as many zombies because it's years after the initial apocalypse started, but there's still a ton of zombies there, so I don't know why they decided to do that. So the best places for them to go are not where they are right now on the hilltop or Alexandria. Instead, they should go to places like Antarctica or the Cook Islands. By the way, those are the most unpopulated places in the entire world. So those would probably make the best places for them to go. But let's be realistic about this. Obviously, they're not going to be going to some of these places because they're either overseas or they're so cold that they couldn't even survive there on their own. So it wouldn't make sense to go to those places in the first place. So instead, they need to stay on the exact same continent that they're already on, which is the North American continent. And when you know it, one of the most unpopulated places on Earth is right on the North American continent where they are, and that is Whittier, Alaska. The total population of this town is only 214 people, and it was mainly used as a US Army camp back in World War II. So they would have weaponry and only 214 zombies maximum to worry about. And in the winter, it can get as low as 20 degrees Fahrenheit, but honestly, that's not that cold where they couldn't live in that condition. But there is a benefit to this cold weather where the walkers would be a lot slower in the cold weather than they would be the hot weather, making this definitely the best possible solution for the team to actually survive in The Walking Dead. And maybe this is exactly how it ends. But you know what? I think there's actually something missing to this, and it isn't just all about location. Even if the group got to this safe area and there were no walkers around, that doesn't mean that the walkers wouldn't eventually, over time, find that place. I think the key to The Walking Dead ending isn't just location, but it's also time. For example, if the walkers run out of food, what do? Well, they keep walking around and wandering until they find more food. So after a long period of time, they will eventually find the group no matter where they go. I mean, if we go back through some of the episodes, there are so many times that we can see the group in a nice secluded area, but then of course, here comes a horde of zombies randomly just to come snack on them, proving that the zombies will eventually find them. And most of the times, the zombies just hear like a gunshot or maybe a loud noise that one of the characters within the camp does something. And usually it's something stupid, and of course this happens almost every single episode. And no matter how strong the berries are or how much firepower the camp has, it's nothing compared to the hordes of zombies. And I hate to say it, but it looks like the ending of The Walking Dead will only end with the human race extinction. The zombies will roam the earth forever, and no living person on Earth will be safe. But you know what? Figuring out that this is the inevitable ending for every character on The Walking Dead is something that I think every fan, including myself, already knew deep down. And the great thing that us fans appreciate about this entire series isn't just about the characters surviving, but how they do it. And even if it is inevitable, they keep striving for it. They never give up. I think that's something that a lot of fans really appreciate for this entire series. But if you want more weekly theories on all of your favorite movies and TV series, definitely be sure to subscribe right over here. But thank you very much for watching, and as always, embrace your inner film nerd. Bye-bye.